Hi.
Hi, are you sure this course is just for 2499?
Yes, and you know this is the only course with this expertise across the world.
No way!
Yes way. Don't delay. Enroll now.
Geeks learning together.
हे geeks, अक्षय दिस साइड। मेरा इंटरनेट स्लो है शायद थोड़ा सा। एक मिनट गाइस, मैं इसको सॉर्ट कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को 2 मिनट दो। हाँ गाइस, सब ठीक है। हे geeks, अक्षय दिस साइड एंड वेलकम टू अनदर सेशन। ये आज बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग सेशन होने वाला है वेयर वील talk about many things because today a very good friend of mine, Abhinav, has been invited to this podcast, and where we'll talk about various things because he's working at Facebook search area in machine learning particularly, and right now working as a software engineer over there at Facebook. So it's my pleasure to invite him. But before that, before I give more intro about him, I really want to read some of the comments. I can already see many comments. तो चलो ठीक है, देख लेते हैं। हाय सूर्यांश, हाय डैनी। ऑलराइट ऑलराइट, समबडी सेड रिप्लाई मी। किसने बोला था? गुड इवनिंग कुंदन, गुड इवनिंग। अमेजिंग अमेजिंग गाइस, यू गाइस आर एंगेजिंग अ लॉट टुडे। बढ़िया है। हाय शिल्पी, हाय। ऑलराइट, okay guys, so today's guest name is Abhinav Sangal, and he did his computer science from NSIT in he's 2014 pass out. He's in the same batch as was me, maybe same batch का हूँ, and right now he's working as a software engineer at Facebook, और उन्होंने इससे पहले masters भी करी थी जॉर्जिया टेक में. So it will be a really informative session. The questions are spread across various areas where we'll also talk about how masters helped him, where we'll also talk about the life at Facebook and how he prepared for it, and what is he doing right now when it comes to technology at Facebook. So let me invite him and let's start the Q&A round, and then we'll pick up some questions from the comment section. Hi Abhinav, how are you?
Hi Akshay, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. So you can already see lots of comments are coming and people are already excited about this session. And I was fumbling in the beginning because my network dropped, and I know you from college, and you are doing very good at career, so it was a bit intimidating for me too. So to be frank, yeah. All right, Abhinav, I give a brief intro about you, but I think it would be best if you can yourself tell more about yourself, and let's start with that.
Yeah, so I did my undergrad from NSIT, as Akshay spoke already. I graduated in computer engineering 2014 batch, same as Akshay. Then I did my master's in computer science from Georgia Tech. And I've been working in US for a while now. I'm currently working at Facebook. I'm a software engineer, and the domain that I work on is video search. And I specifically do ranking, machine learning for them.
Okay, ठीक है. So as I already told audience that you did your master's from Georgia Tech, right? And so I want to ask something related to that. That how did it actually help you in boosting your career and helping you reach at Facebook where you are? So how did masters help you?
Yeah, I'd say quite a few ways. So a couple things that stand out are one. Um, so I ended up doing machine learning at Facebook, which is not something that I had any idea of when I was doing my undergrad in NSIT. Like I had no idea what machine learning is. It was still like a buzzword. It's still quite a buzzword. But this master's sort of exposed me to this area, machine learning and artificial intelligence. I didn't immediately like sort of just got on top of machine learning. But eventually, when I came to Facebook, I found an opportunity in machine learning. So it just helped me because I had already specialized in machine learning. So
Okay.
I had sort of learned some tools that helped me ramp up pretty fast. So that is one thing. Second thing is,
Okay.
I mean, opportunities, right? Like US is of course like a land of opportunities. Kind of have like a lot of interesting problems being solved here in the form of startups or other big tech companies, which at that time especially like they were scarce in India. I know India is like you see a lot of opportunities in India now, but at that time I treated this as like a launch pad to a lot of opportunity pool. So
Okay.
yeah, these two things sort of stand out for me.
All right. ठीक है. And let's jump onto the interview process. Okay. कितने टाइम पहले फेसबुक इंटरव्यू मतलब दिया था, लाइक फिर भी लाइक इज
3 years,
इट 3 years?
2018 में दिया था.
But I think we can still talk about it because you'll remember what it went through. वो क्या याद होगा तो. So
Hmm.
can you briefly describe the interview process? Like, how was it?
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty standard interview process if you've interviewed for a software engineering position, but I'll walk through the rounds. So
Yeah.
the first round is a screening round. It's a phone interview where they would focus on a couple coding problems. I typically people ask me like, hey, like in lead code sort of lingo, what is the medium hard sort of category? So I typically say like, yeah, it's going to be like medium or hard problems. uh, one thing that stands out in a Facebook interview is that speed matters a lot. Speed and accuracy. They would expect you to solve like one or two problems with like high accuracy and at a good speed, which is
Okay.
something that is extremely specific to Facebook. I haven't seen other good companies, maybe like Google or Microsoft, do that. So that's one thing that you should be cautious about if you are particularly aiming for Facebook. So after you clear the phone interview process, it's a standard on-site loop where you go through 4 interviews. One is a behavioral interview.
No.
We sort of focus on like things such as, hey, if are you a team person? Like if you, how well do you operate in team? How well do you operate in stressful situations? Have you had any conflicts? How did you resolve that and all that? This is a good signal for us to level you. Obviously we have like various level of engineers, that is like one interview that decides that alongside other interviews that decide what level you are put on, even if you are given an offer. It is possible that you might like get leveled up, leveled down based on your experience and based on how this conversation went. So that is one interview. uh, Two other interviews are coding rounds. Standard coding problems they're going to ask you. You can choose your programming language, like whatever you are comfortable with, doesn't matter. But again, speed and accuracy is something that we specifically look out for. You can expect like 1 to 2 coding questions, and we expect you to solve them like basically almost close to 100% accuracy. And like, yeah, your code should be clean. You should be able to test those out. You should be able to sort of talk about time and space constraints here. So yeah, those are two coding rounds, and then there is a system design round. Uh, Also depends on like which level you are at. So I'm trying to focus a lot more on like medium to senior roles. If you are senior plus, then this interview loop might look a little different for you. They might
Okay.
focus a lot more on system design. But yeah,
Okay.
talking about system design round, it's a high level system design. They would ask you to develop a system that is sort of that can handle like a ton of load. For example, like the kind of question that I was asked was actually to design Facebook search. What we are trying to specifically look for is, are you able to handle like large systems? Are you able to think about how the system will be available? Are you able to plan out your databases and all that? So yeah, it's kind of like a discussion, but they want to check your high level design concepts.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh, Anything else you want to add, or should I move on to the next question?
No, I mean, I guess I just want to emphasize on the fact that yeah, like speed is something that is very important. Even with interviewing at Facebook, and once you land in Facebook, you sort of feel that. So yeah,
Oh,
just focus on that.
all right. All right. So, what are some preparation strategies you use to prepare for Facebook interview? Obviously, you said that speed is really important. So, something to improve that also you particularly tell. But uske alawa bhi, like how was?
Huh. I use like a pretty standard set. It's like available on the internet these days. I used Lead Code for a lot of my coding preparation. Yeah, like I basically picked up a bunch of coding problems and I used to solve those. Again, here I used to focus on both accuracy and speed. Didn't used to like look at solutions right away. Just try to do that. Then for system design, there are a bunch of like YouTube tutorials and like blog articles. There's like grokking the system design website where you can find all these concepts. So for system design, I try to focus on learning the concepts so that I could apply to like any other problem that might come. So the concepts here are like a lot more shared, I feel. So yeah, and for behavior, I didn't really prepare. I just like used my experience to sort of answer those questions.
Okay, okay. Uh, so, how is life at Facebook? Like currently, you are based in America itself, and obviously, right now it's work from home. But still,
Mhm.
you can tell me more about the culture. Like, how is the culture? How people friendly it is, and something about that.
Yeah. So one thing that I particularly like to sort of focus on when I'm asked this question is the fact that it's very engineering driven. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you are on a team and the team is trying to decide that, hey, what do we want to work on? What are the metrics and goals that we want to focus on? So a lot of this is actually sort of driven by engineers, which is
Okay.
something very different. When I talk to like my friends at other companies, a lot of that is driven by product managers, engineering managers, and whatnot. But there's a huge input from engineers, and that's why I feel like a company like Facebook is really nice for engineers, because you're given the driving wheel like right from the start. So you are in the planning phase of projects. You are in obviously in the execution phase of the projects. You're given the autonomy to design the system, to execute on it. So that's like one really nice thing that I like about Facebook. The other thing
Okay.
is so impact. That's one sort of buzzword you'll hear a lot if you interview at Facebook and if you land at Facebook. Impact basically means like, hey, how much are you able to help Facebook sort of improve their growth? It can be in the terms of like users. It can be in the time in the metric of like how much time a user spends on Facebook on an average. So that like Facebook in general is like very metric heavy. So you need to like sort of focus on how your projects, how your features are going to help drive Facebook that impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about that angle, that people angle, like in terms of leaves, in terms of how they treat you? समझ रहे हैं ना वो उसको
Huh. I mean, in terms of like treating their employees, I mean, it's really nice. Obviously, there are like a ton of perks. I don't want to go into like all the perks that we sort of focus on, but yeah, it's like basically top of the industry. So I'd say they treat us very well. In terms of like collaboration, it's a very collaborative culture, because when you're working at like a big tech company, you can't really build the wheel for everything that you want to work on. So you try to reach out to people who have already implemented the system or have used components of the system, and you try to just like build that collaboration and reuse that. So you got to have all those collaborations going for you really nicely.
okay. Okay. So, what exact area, like video search you said, but I would love to know more about it. So, what area do you work in Facebook, and what technologies are used?
Yeah. So specifically, so Facebook has a product called Facebook Watch, which is sort of like a video feed in Facebook. So that's the org that my team belongs to. Inside that, there is search. So that's what my team owns. So yeah, like video search, watch search, these are like synonyms of my team. So specifically, my team does like ranking. If I were to like put it in like a more layman sort of words, let's say you go to like Facebook and you search for I don't know, cricket videos. The videos that you see there are basically ranked and retrieved by my team. So we obviously have like a tons of videos, like 80 billion videos at this point at Facebook, and our
80
job is
billion,
to
like, or
80
like in total,
videos,
or
Eight- 80 billion public videos. That's
like
like
in
the last figure that I
total?
saw in at Facebook. Yeah. So we need to like retrieve those and rank those in like a matter of few seconds. So that's where my team sort of plays the role of providing that backend infrastructure and ranking support to give you those videos.
Got it, got it. So, like machine learning obviously इसमें use होती है. Like technologies अगर हम और basic में घुसे like Python या कोई उसमें,
Hmm.
तो can you talk about that?
Huh. So in terms of languages, I particularly work on like three major languages here. So one is Python. Since my work is like on machine learning, I have to write a lot of data pipelines to train ML models and whatnot. So I write my data pipelines in Python. So that's like language number one that I use. Second is C++. We need like a very robust, fast backend infrastructure. So most of our backend is C++, and then on top on like middle layer we call it to sort of just talk to clients like iOS and Android, talk to our backend infrastructure through PHP. So Facebook has its own version of PHP. It's called Hack. So I write some part of Hack as well.
Oh, okay, amazing,
Mhm.
man. So as you mentioned machine learning, right? So what would you suggest a person who is getting started with it? Like also some like अगर machine learning घुस रहा है, but apart from machine learning, I think more things are also required, like DSA and all those things definitely required that you
Mhm.
can't ignore. So throw
Right.
some light on it, particularly machine learning and other subjects as well. कि ये तो आना ही चाहिए, मतलब अगर Facebook आना है.
Huh. So okay, let me answer the easier question first. So Facebook में आना है, तो like obviously machine learning is not required. Like you can very well not know anything about machine learning and still land a job at Facebook. So let me clarify that. For first part. So uh,
Hmm.
in my opinion, if you want to land at Facebook, you need to get your data structures algorithms in place. And it's like Facebook is no different than any other tech company in that regard. You need to have like good sort of handle on data structures algorithms. They're going to ask you like coding problems that you not need to solve in a matter of minutes. And if you haven't like practiced well, there's no way you will be able to solve that in like 15-20 minutes. So that is like basically essential. um, the other part is like, as I talked about system design, you need to have like some chops of system design to be able to clear that system design round. But yeah, like you'll have to clear both aspects to land a job at Facebook. It's not a either or sort of thing.
Got
So
it.
so that is the first part of your question. Second part
Okay.
is for machine learning. Yeah, luckily, I mean, there are a ton of resources now. So one is definitely the route that I took. You can go for a more like academic course which focuses on machine learning. Almost all universities, at least in US, have like machine learning courses. So they give you an opportunity to learn machine learning, and a lot of the people are actually going for that. I see, like obviously machine learning and AI is like a buzzword these days, so people are doing that. So that is one path. The second path is like, if you don't want to invest yourself into a proper academic course, you can obviously follow like a ton of these online courses in machine learning that are happening these days. I personally haven't taken one, so I don't know which ones are great. But I'm pretty like I know a few coming from like good universities like Stanford and stuff, which are like pretty amazing, and you can definitely take that. The only sort of catch there is that you'll have to find an opportunity in either your workplace or a new job where you can apply these machine learning techniques. But yeah, like yeah, with these online resources, learning machine learning is not something of a privilege. You just have to invest your time at this point.
Got it. And also one more question. in this follow-up question, like masters is also not absolutely necessary, but obviously it's a definitely a benefit. But
Right.
without that, also, if somebody get placed in his college and after 3/4 year, can he back this opportunity? Something like this. Even overseas, I am asking. Like in overseas, I am asking. India mein ho jayega, I
Mhm.
know, but overseas, can he also back without masters, or is master the only path?
So the short answer to that is you can bag opportunities outside of India, even if you're sitting in India. And I see a lot of people getting interested in that. I do know a few friends who have grabbed those opportunities. So there are a couple ways. I'll try to touch on that because just briefly because I haven't had that experience.
Sure.
So one way I've seen that people do that is like land an opportunity in India for a company that is based in US. So to name a few, like for example, I've seen like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they have offices in India, and I've seen a lot of people like transfer to US offices from there. So that is one route that I've like seen more common route. The other route is like I do see. So for example, since we're talking about Facebook specifically, so Facebook London, I've seen a lot of people getting hired from India for Facebook London opportunities, and Facebook, yeah, like is aggressively hiring now as well. So you can like definitely interview with like Facebook London, and if you pass your interviews, they'll get you to London, and yeah, you'll be able to do that just directly. You don't have to sort of go through that India to somewhere outside route.
All right. Okay. Okay. So that is possible. It's possible, but obviously,
Mhm.
if you do masters, then obviously chances बढ़ जाते हैं उसमें.
Exactly. Huh. I mean, the number of opportunities are less, and obviously, it's going to be like arguably more competitive.
Okay. Okay. So, Abhinav, all. That was all from my side as far as questions are concerned.
Hmm.
But now I would love to jump onto the comments and let's
Yeah.
see if we can answer some of the comments. So
Right.
we both can go through them together. Let me know if you feel any. So do they ask about projects during interview? Can we talk about this?
Yeah. So, okay. Do they ask about projects? Yeah. So there is a behavioral round that I talked about. So in that behavioral round, like this 45-minute round, they're gonna ask you questions, and the idea is that you will answer those questions using your own experience. So like indirectly, you will be talking about your projects, like what was the project about, like what was your role in this project. So my short answer to that is you will talk about projects, but not on a deep like highly grained level. They will be more interested in how your role was non-technically on that project. Like, did you like land some conflicts? How did you resolve those? What was your role in the project? Were you designing the system, or were you just like implementing a system? Was a senior engineer guiding you, or were you the guiding force there?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm, and can you tell what particular project, some example of projects also, is it possible? Which ideas?
I can't talk about that, but so one thing that I generally see is people take that as at face value कि ये projects करोगे तो job लग जाएगी. I first of all I want to put that out कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि like the project that I'm going to say कि इससे job लग जाएगी, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Again, the idea is कि like the project that you did, what was your role? Like, did you land into some like let's say scalability issues? If you did, how did you resolve those?
Okay.
And all that. So yeah, I specifically don't want to answer this question because it doesn't really matter. What I want to sort of say is focus on what is your role in the project as such.
Got it. Got it. Obviously, projects are important, but what you are saying is that you don't wanna like उसको तुम बहुत narrow नहीं करना चाहते कि ये दो तीन ही है या तीन चार ही हैं.
Exactly.
Whatever you do, you should know what your role is, and you should know that उसमें मतलब तुम्हें अपना role पता होना चाहिए और वो significant होना चाहिए. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. And moreover, I mean, they don't care as much कि यार तुमने machine learning का ये project किया था तो okay, we'll take you. This is not how it works. They are going to evaluate you on the performance, on your performance on the interviews, like other interviews, like programming round, coding rounds, and system design round. This is for them to judge how you've grown as an engineer, like even non-technically.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
So I see a question by Bluder World. Please, can I learn only DSA of Python and just C++ for programming?
Okay.
It's a little bit unclear, but I can answer a general question that I generally see from a lot of people. Again, programming language is not important. You can give your interviews in Python, C++, doesn't matter. But what 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 Facebook and other tech companies would need from you is your like your skills of data structures and algorithms. Are you able to use the right set of data structures? Are you able to devise an algorithm? And are you able to code it up? Language is not really important.
Okay.
I see one other question. Any age limit to apply for jobs? I don't know of any.
Um,
I don't think so. I don't hope there is one.
मैं भी देख रहा हूँ. Yeah, this is very like generic, but I feel I remember college days when you used to tell me, please somebody give me tips. How can I grow my coding?
Um, Yeah. First of all, I want to put it out there कि at least जब मैं college में था, when I was in college, I used to like look at all these engineers and मुझे लगता था you have to be like an extremely nice like perfect coder to like land a job at Facebook. I I I would say no. It's not that important. Like I wouldn't say I'm the best coder there. My coding skills are still like pretty average. What I want to focus here is how you cannot focus on being like an excellent programmer, excellent coder, but still grow your coding skills. So obviously there are like a ton of resources now. Geeks for Geeks is like one of the websites that I used to use like back in the day.
Mm.
For Facebook specifically, like yeah, I use Lead Code. Again, like the the important thing here is to for you to pick one resource where you are able to sort of improve your coding skills through coding some like questions of different like areas, graphs, trees, just cover all the areas, different varying like difficulty, and sort of focusing on you being able to code those. So understanding and devising an algorithm is good, but in an interview round you'll have to code it up. So use like a text editor, code it on a text editor. You don't use like an IDE because you won't have a support of like all the functions that are available. So yeah, like those are my high level tips here.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Is competitive programming coding necessary?
Yeah,
He's in his third year.
yeah, nice question. Okay, so let me answer this. First part, is competitive coding necessary? No, not at all. It's not necessary. You can very well like land a job at one of the good companies without doing competitive coding. Let me give you an example in place. I haven't done like any competitive coding at all in my lifetime. I actually like I don't think I'll be good at it. I still fear like doing all those like hacker ranks and code forces and Spoj and whatnot. I was really bad at it during college.
Hmm.
It's not necessary. It is a more organic way for you to develop your coding skills. Is I would this is how like a lot of people do that. So like all these Lead Code and Geeks for Geeks and all these websites are a resource for people who are not able to organically get into this habit of coding and hence like improving their coding skills.
Okay.
So competitive coding is not necessary. It is just a more organic way for you to be prepared for these interviews. I do know a lot of people who have actually like never done like lead code or geeks for geeks. Like they actually don't recommend those route because they are more sort of they're the people who like organically got better at coding through this competitive coding route.
Okay, ठीक है. We can pick few more, 2 3 questions. Okay, this is a good question. I think it's very much close. You must have many experience in this. So somebody is saying that her niece completed MA since masters last week in California. Any job opportunities for as a fresher? Like I don't know. मतलब maybe कुछ इस पे आप add कर सकते
Um, yeah, I'm sure like obviously tons. I'm trying to see how I can be helpful here. So obviously like if I go back to my experience of masters, we used to have these job fairs where a lot of these companies used to come on campus and you can talk to them, and if they find a fit, they would invite you to interview. So that was one route. I'm hoping that this person is like going through that route. That is like one of the most easiest routes to like land a job, especially since you are doing a master's here. The other route is obviously like being proactive and looking out for job opportunities on LinkedIn. If you have some specific companies in mind, try to go on their job portal. Um, you can also like reach out to people who might be alums from your schools working at these companies and see if they can put a referral for you. Um, so yeah, I mean these are the most trusted routes I feel. Um, yeah.
हैं. Okay, okay. Uh,
So I see this question: what to do after learning coding?
yeah,
Um,
ये क्वेश्चन मेरे को एक्चुअली समझ नहीं आया था. So Akash is saying, please talk for the mass. Mass is not thinking about abroad, just seeing. But we never said that everybody needs to, as I already mentioned, like we already talked about that you can stay here and also bag an opportunity at offices which are present here. We already talked about that, Akash.
mhm.
Anything for electronics engineer in Facebook? Ayush?
um, yeah, I, very briefly, I don't know a lot of specifics since I am from a more software side of things. But I do know that there are hardware opportunities at Facebook, although they are very limited as compared to a software engineering role. But I do know people who are working in hardware. Yeah.
Okay. How much DS algo is required for getting into Facebook? Bidastic.
Yeah. So
Full
again,
on.
so again, I want to focus on the intent of this question. I first want to sort of debunk the myth. There is not going to be like a percentage number that I or anybody else here is going to throw at you and say that, hey, if you do these 4 things or 5 things, you're going to land a job at X. What you need to do is you need to sort of pick up all those DS algo concepts that are like out there, trees, graphs, whatever. Start with basic data structures, and you need to be able to get to a state where you are able to solve um, like med- medium difficulty, hard difficulty questions with like in some certain amount of time on your own. So this can vary for a lot of people. For example, a person who has done maybe like a ton of competitive coding, he might be already ready to do all those questions today. For a person who has not done that, um, he might need like a beginner course to get there, so it'll vary. But the idea is for you to be able to have those concepts in your back pocket, so that you can apply that whenever you are given a coding problem.
Okay. Okay. And somebody is asking about H1 visa also. Like, what about H1 visa?
Uh, I, I need a more specific question here. Like, what about H1 visa? I'm guessing this is probably like a concern, like, oh, like H1 visas are like difficult to get, but I don't know the intent of this question. So
Okay.
yeah, please be
Okay.
more specific.
We'll pick last question. Okay. And let's see. Okay. Let's talk about certification. Is certification required for big companies? Any preference given to those with certificates?
Yeah. Um, Answer to question number one, is certificate required for big companies? No. Any preference given to those who have certification? Maybe, very little. Short answer is big companies don't care. What they care about is like how well you can perform in an interview. Have do you have the skills to be successful at this organization? So yeah, if certification is helping you getting those skills, then go for it. But like just for the name of it, no, it's not going to help you.
ठीक है एंड अभी ना बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चन आ रहे आए हैं बस अभी अभी मैं बताता हूँ
Mhm.
देखो सो there is a question how to get remote research internships in US universities.
Yeah. How to get remote research internships? That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Research-
mean, I don't know how to get a remote research internship. I can talk about how I got a research internship, but it was not remote. It was like very much in person. I had to go to US to do that. But maybe that will help you to land a remote research opportunity. So the
Okay.
way I did this is this was back in my second year of college, so 2011. And I wanted to see how is academic life in US. So I basically started looking up professors in like these universities who might be interested in taking people for a summer and having them there in their research lab and do some work.
But
Luck,
how did you reach out to the professors? Like, how did you reach out to the professors?
Yeah, so the way I did this was like I first of all looked at like, hey, what are the good CS universities? So first I got a list of those, and then I used to go on those university websites and see like what are the professors, like who are the professors, what are they doing, try to read briefly what they're trying to do, and they usually have like this contact email address. So I used to like brief an email, like write an email to them asking that, hey, like would you be interested in having me there, like I have this experience. So yeah, like obviously
समझ
this is
गया.
like finding a needle in a haystack. It's going to be not easy. You'll probably have to like write a lot of emails, but yeah, this is how I did.
But you went in person, but obviously this same strategy of contacting the professors and asking about the opportunities there
Exactly.
can be done for the remote research internships as well,
Right,
right?
especially with COVID around, like obviously there's no traveling,
Yeah,
so
of
maybe
course.
you can work a case with them and
Yeah, but it's a slow
specifically.
process. That email thing, getting back the reply, it's a slow process. Maybe there's a
Right, it
contact.
is. I mean, there
Like
is
the process.
probably one, but they won't pick up. And
Okay,
like
okay.
obviously to sort of keep their time valuable, like
Mm,
let's like focus on email. I would
okay.
say. But yeah, I mean, like if you sort of frame your email like, hey, I'm interested in a remote research opportunity, maybe they might even be more interested because they don't have to go through this process of getting you there, because obviously they have to like give you a letter for visa and whatnot. So it is a more structured process.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, Abhinav. क्या कहता है? Last.
Let's do it.
Let's do one last question, and you tell me whichever question you want to talk about. You can select.
This is a this is a specific question by Shubham. What should be a 1 year roadmap to get selected at Facebook?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like this question because this will probably wrap up what we talked about. So first thing that I want to say is hopefully you're not spending 1 year of your life to like work for an interview, prepare for an interview. Hopefully this should be like a matter of months. But if it's like a 1 year, yeah, for sure. So first thing I would say is, let's say that you have like no idea about data structures algorithms. Like first try to get your concepts right. Be sure to know all your data structures algorithms. I do see some questions like how to actually do that. So there are like, again, online courses, there are books to do this, and I'm pretty sure you can like find some like trusted resources on Google. So that is step number one: get your data structures algorithms in place. Second thing is pick a platform where you can practice problems that are asked in these coding rounds. They are like a pretty standard set these days. Few hundred, maybe like thousand set. And once you start doing like maybe close to 100 questions, you will be able to get a hang of these. Like how do I think about what data structure to apply? Like how do I code it up? Like what are some basic techniques that I have to do? So once you are able to like get to a few like maybe 100 problems, then I would say like, yeah, you are ready to solve coding problems. And again, you have to focus on like varying difficulty of problems, varying concepts. Like I talked about graphs, trees, whatever. So just try to pick a diverse set of questions. And then
Okay.
the third thing is like basically try interviewing, right? Like you can do some mock interviews. There are there are mock interview websites where you are basically paired with like an engineer at an X company, and they would like interview you as a mock interview. This is also very important because this will take away the fear of performing in an interview, just like you prepare for a mock paper before your real paper. So yeah, I would say it's like a three-step process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, now, Abhinav, that was it. All the questions you answered. Thank you so
Mm.
much. There are more
Yeah.
questions, but I would
Yeah.
request my audience to connect with Abhinav on LinkedIn. His LinkedIn URL is in the YouTube description and Facebook and LinkedIn captions. So you can just connect with him and maybe add a note. Ask their question. I think that would be fine, right, Abhinav? वो चलेगा.
हाँ चलेगा बिल्कुल, that
And
works.
obviously, it was my pleasure to invite you, and thank you so much for taking your time out to क्या कहते हैं उसको categorize करके चीजों को बताना clarity के साथ. That is one other thing, right? Because you gave your interview 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Still, you
Right.
recall everything from the memory. So thank you so much for doing that for our geeks who are
Yeah,
watching us.
cool. Thanks for having me here. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Bye, Abhinav. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. All right, guys. I hope it was a decent session. Just connect with him. He is really helpful and a very nice, genuine guy. I'm sure whatever questions are there, he'll do his best to answer those as well, if required. Yeah, and stay at home, get vaccinated, stay safe. So many comments were there, and we went live at 9 today due to some lack of availability of some slots. We had to choose this slot, but I think people are still live. Right? Nice to see 88, 90 people live. Take care, guys, and stay safe. Bye. कमिंग कल फिर से इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन के और सेशंस हो रहे हैं पूरे हफ्ते वो कुछ ना कुछ चलता रहेगा. नेक्स्ट वीकेंड भी स्पेशल वेबिनार्स होंगे, लाइव मॉक्स भी होंगे 4 इस वीक. सो फॉर द वीक जस्ट ट्यून इन गाइस. बाय गाइस, टेक केयर.